This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey guys, and welcome to the WWE Podcast. We are going to get to myself and Thomas Franco, brand new to the show. We're going to get him on the air and talking about the Royal Rumble in just 1 second. But first, before we get to any of that, and we talk for over an hour about the Royal Rumble in depth, about all the possibilities of returns and everything else, and a great conversation. I think you'll enjoy it. But first, if you want to join Patreon, and that's where Thomas and I we connected for him to come on the show, head on over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Get yourself ad-free for the whole weekend of the Rumble and beyond. If you don't want to deal with ads, patreon.com/WWE Podcast is the place to go. Of course, you can also check us out on Apple Podcasts. There's an ad-free button. Go ad-free for the whole WrestleMania season. And we have 1 week for free, a free trial for 1 week, which brings you through the Rumble. So if you actually want to be on the free trial for a week, you can do that and catch all of our shows for the next week ad-free over on Apple Podcasts. Just hit that ad-free button, get your 7-day free trial, and then it's just $2.99 a month after that for all of our ad-free shows. So that is available to you. And we do also have a new sponsor coming on for the show that will be. I'm very excited about this sponsor. And again, I won't announce the sponsor right now. That'll be on a future podcast, but coming soon. We've got a great partnership with a very, very cool sponsor that I really believe in, and we'll talk about that later on. But here we are talking right now about the Royal Rumble. We're here to talk about what the hell could happen with so many things on the line. Thomas Franco and I break it down piece by piece, bit by bit, and grind it down into a fine powder for you to listen to and enjoy, I hope. So, guys, again, go VIP on our website, www.podcast.com. Our website does offer ad-free everything, too. So, www.com or www.podcast.com is the place to go. Apple Podcasts or Patreon. Lots of options to go ad-free as we ramp up the road to WrestleMania. So, guys, here we go. Let's talk to Thomas Franco all about Royal Rumble 2023, and I'll talk to you guys very soon. All right, everybody, welcome to the Royal Rumble preview show, the official Royal Rumble preview show for 2023. I've got a brand new co-host with me tonight, another patron of the show, Thomas Franco from Montreal. A lot of Canadians listen to this show. I'm very honored, and we've got Thomas here to cover the Royal Rumble. And Thomas, are you looking forward to this event? And first of all, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine, Matt. Thanks. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this event. It's been like the time frame from Survivor Series till the Royal Rumble has felt so long. And like if I think about what I was doing during Survivor Series, that seems like ages ago. So like having no premium live event feels so foreign, and now having the Royal Rumble, which is probably up there with WrestleMania and SummerSlam for me for favorite pay-per-views. Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'm with you, and I'm ready. You know, I said at the beginning of this gap, this is probably the longest gap I've ever experienced as a wrestling fan from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. From, as you said, Survivor Series until now, you know, it always feels like it goes by fast. In this case, I actually feel like it's just dragged by. Not that the programming has been bad, but it's just felt so long. I mean, this is, I'm just ready. I'm ready to get answers. I'm ready to start seeing WrestleMania shape up. There's so much speculation, and we'll dive into it tonight with our predictions. But overall, I'm with you. I am excited about this event, excited about the possibilities, likely several returns, and not just the massive ones of potentially Stone Cold or The Rock or whatever. I think there's some ones in the Rumble that will make some noise, and again, we'll dive into that. But before we do, a quick intro on yourself. When did you become I know we spoke a little bit off the air, but let our listeners know how and when you became a listening fan. Kind of an interesting story.
Like when I started listening to the podcast, or
no,
just watching
watching wrestling.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I believe it was back in like late 2010, early 2011 because I do remember seeing the CM Punk pipe bomb promo, and the whole feud with John Cena and CM Punk is kind of what got me into watching wrestling. And then the other thing that got me into watching wrestling was WrestleMania that year was Edge and Alberto Del Rio, because I don't know what it was. I just gravitated towards both Edge and Cena. So it was that year. And then I stopped watching in 2015 just because I started picking up new interests. I got a little bit older and I just it got stale pretty quickly. And then it was recently, it was WrestleMania last year, 2022, that I started picking it up again. So yeah, I took a long gap in between, but started watching again in 2022, and yeah, I loved it ever since.
That's I've never had anybody, I haven't spoken to anybody yet that started watching right around the pipe bomb era. So that's kind of cool. And then of course you took a little break and then came back. But, so in general, you've been watching about 10 years, a little over 10 years now. And so you've got, I think some interesting wrestling ahead. If you've been a fan this whole time, even if you took a small break, you know that right now we are going to enter into a massive portion of the season. We're in that portion of the season that even if you have friends that don't like wrestling, they ask you what's going on, right? Like you have those friends that the rest of the year it's embarrassing for them to be a wrestling fan, but you'll have those people that go, wait a minute, is The Rock back? Is Stone Cold back? Or like they ask about the big names because to them that's not embarrassing, right? Like I have friends like that and they only care about like WrestleMania season. That's when it's quote socially acceptable to be a fan. But let's dive into this card here, and there's so much that we'll talk about. I want to start. Where do I start? I'm going to start. I'm not going to give away the lead, as they say. I'm gonna start with Bray Wyatt and LA Knight, and I'm gonna toss this to you, Thomas. I'm gonna ask you about, first of all, not just the winner, but what the hell is a lights out match to you? A pitch black Mountain Dew pitch black match. What is this to you, and who wins?
First off, I don't think I've ever heard of like a soda company like sponsoring a match.
Right.
It's kind of different, yeah. But yeah, no, what I'm hearing and a lot of reports and what I'm reading on Twitter is that it's basically going to be when Bray goes out for his promos, and there's kind of like that light that shines in the ring, but it's dark out and the people, hold their phones out. Essentially, it's going to be something similar to that, and I'm also seeing reports that there's going to be some neon involved. That's what I've seen so far. So I'm really hoping it's not like you mentioned a few times on the podcast of like it being totally in pitch black, because you'll hear boos in a matter of like a minute. So I really hope it's not that, but I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be completely pitch black, because I don't think WWE is that I don't think they're that stupid. I think they're going to eventually know that the fans will turn on it. So I think they'll keep it to a minimum, and they'll have some light so that you can see. And as far as the winner goes, I'm seeing everywhere that people are like, oh, this is straightforward. Bray Wyatt's going to win. I wouldn't necessarily say that. Mm-hmm. I would say I think LA Knight is going to pick up the win.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm with you, because for a couple of reasons. Number one, LA Knight's on a roll. Like, to me, he has in many ways outshined Bray Wyatt. Now, Bray Wyatt's a big star. He's captivating. People love him. I understand why. And I don't think Bray Wyatt is being hurt by this. I think he's doing a nice job, but I think people are ready to kind of move on from whoever and whatever Uncle Howdy is. I think for most fans' taste, it's moving a little bit too slow. And just like, can we just get to the reveal so we can, like, what is all this? Like, you have me, you want, I'm with you, Bray, but give us answers, please, or we're just going to just disconnect from you. And I think fans are at that point. But LA Knight, I've loved everything that he's done, from his promos to his presence to his in-ring, just his look. I didn't realize how big of an LA Knight fan I was, but I'm with you that I think he is going to pick up the victory here. And I think it's going to be because not necessarily that LA Knight outright beats Bray clean, but rather Uncle Howdy somehow costs Bray Wyatt the match, and then whoever Uncle Howdy is revealed, and then Bray goes on to feud with the identity of Uncle Howdy. That's what I think happens. But I'm with you. I think that LA Knight does pick up the victory here because again, most people expect Bray to win, and also Bray got the one up on LA Knight on Raw, and more often than not, whoever gets the last laugh on the go home show, typically, as a general rule of thumb, has high odds of losing at the pay-per-view. So, with those reasons and for those reasons, I'm with you. LA Knight does pick up the victory here, I think. And as you mentioned about the stipulation and as far as how it's going to look, yeah, I mean, I'm very concerned about this from a fans completely booing it out of the building type of scenario. I don't think it'll be totally pitch black, which will completely defeat the purpose of calling it a pitch black match. And also, whatever, I don't know what the distinction is between a Mountain Dew pitch black match and just a normal old pitch black match, but I mean, I honestly just, I don't expect this to blow anyone out of the water. I think it's all about the special effects. It's about Uncle Howdy. It's about Bray's story. But I'm with you. LA Knight picks up the victory here.
Yeah, and I think it's because Mountain Dew is came out with a flavor that's called Pitch Black.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's why it's called the Pitch Black match. But yeah, like what you said about Bray Wyatt, he did get the upper hand on Raw 30, and like that he got that whole, moment with the Undertaker there. Mm-hmm. So obviously, and now you're seeing reports coming out today that WWE has him as like the top babyface on SmackDown ahead of Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, like internally. So, he's already got a lot of momentum. He had the momentum with that return, and, obviously a lot of people like him. He's super over. His entrance is super over. I think, he'll probably go on to WrestleMania and face Uncle Howdy, and like a loss here won't diminish his return in any way. And I just think LA Knight, I don't think he necessarily needs a victory, but a victory will help him out so much. And then like that victory can, propel him onto WrestleMania to face whoever he's going to face. I really wonder who he's going to face. What I thought of earlier today is I'm like, maybe he's going to face Goldberg, because I've heard Goldberg is returning very soon because his contract ends soon. So I don't know. But anyways, I'm getting off topic there. But I think it's pretty straightforward. LA Knight picks up the win by hook or by crook. We think Uncle Howdy's going to come out and cost Bray Wyatt the match.
Yeah, I mean, we both could be completely wrong, and it's just a Bray Wyatt matter-of-fact victory. I think actually that would be the worst outcome. Not because I don't like Bray, not because I don't think he could benefit from a win, but because of the complete kind of letting the air out of the balloon of LA Knight side effect, and I don't want that. They've done so much with LA Knight that I think that he's outperformed even WWE's expectations. I don't think that they thought he would be this over this quick, and the fans seem to be really taking to him. The thing is starting to catch on a little bit. He's just a very polished, well-rounded, confident wrestler, and I love what he's got to bring to the table. And yeah, as you said, like LA Knight could use the victory more than Bray could. Absolutely. Bray taking the loss here, especially if it's a wonky loss because he lost because of someone else interfering. That's not going to hurt Bray, and it's only going to help LA Knight, as you mentioned, just continue to elevate him to that next level. If it's Goldberg, I mean, I'm scared of that. I'm not a big Goldberg fan. I don't think that LA Knight would probably win that, unfortunately, but of course we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And all right, let's move on to the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair versus Alexa Bliss. Go ahead, Tom. I'm going to give this one to you again.
Yeah, so I think both of the title matches, I don't know about you, but to me they're pretty straightforward in terms of who's going to win. So I have Bianca Belair taking this. I'm a huge Bianca Belair fan, like in terms of watching who I want to watch every single week on Raw and on SmackDown. Of course, you have Becky Lynch, you have you have Rhea Ripley, but ever since I started watching last year and seeing Bianca's title run, the first few months were underwhelming, but she kind of, in that feud with Bayley and that feud with, Becky, it was very interesting to see how she puts on great quality matches. She's one of the best athletes in WWE. And right now, I don't think they plan to take the belt off of her. If they did take the belt off her, it wouldn't make any sense. because I don't think Alexa Bliss needs a belt right now. And, I can see Bianca holding this past WrestleMania. I really do. But I think Alexa Bliss, the story that comes from this match will be, what does Uncle Howdy, or what happens with Alexa Bliss when she loses the match? I don't necessarily think Uncle Howdy will come out, because, in my opinion, that's overkill. But I do think that she'll end up losing it real bad, and we'll see something happen that is attached to her past, right? So we might see Lily come out, we might see the old music come back, we might see the Firefly Funhouse characters come back, something of that sort. So yeah, I'll turn it over to you. I just think that it's pretty straightforward. Bianca wins. Alexa, something happens after the match.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt this one is, if you're going to put your money on a match, it almost is impossible, I think, here for Alexa Bliss to win the championship. And that's weird to say, given that for so long she wasn't wrestling at all, especially during the pandemic era, and being the sidekick of Bray Wyatt. While she was effective, I think the one downside was that they didn't put her in the ring almost ever. She sat on a swing for 2 years, it felt like, backstage. And now she's wrestling, and it's weird for me to say that it's not the right time. It's been how many years since she's been a women's champion? So her time is coming. I think her time is coming in 2023. We just got to get past WrestleMania, likely even past Rhea Ripley's title reign, to talk about Alexa Bliss carrying the belt. Maybe Alexa Bliss, if she's a babyface, could oppose Rhea Ripley after WrestleMania, because then you have a new, fresh matchup. And we could start talking about Alexa Bliss maybe towards spring, summertime as a women's champion. But for the time being, it's just not the right time for Alexa. It's great that she's in a championship match. She's a solid wrestler. I love her presence. I think she's very believable when she commits to a character. But I'm with you. This is about the wonkiness probably of, like you said, probably not Uncle Howdy. You're not going to put him out there twice. I think Uncle Howdy is safe for the larger Bray Wyatt LA Knight match. But I'm with you that there's some kind of flash on the screen and it snaps her, and maybe she gets DQ'd again, or like I think that there is going to be some kind of switch to the dark side in a very violent way again here with Bianca Belair. It could end almost like the Raw Championship match, the Raw Women's Championship match a couple of weeks ago on Raw, where Bianca Belair is left laying. Or Bianca Belair could simply flat out beat Alexa Bliss, and then Alexa Bliss snaps at the end of the match, and something crazy, hocus pocus happens after the match, and she loses it after realizing she didn't win the match. Either way, it's not going to matter when that hocus pocus happens, because Bianca Belair is going to retain and face Rhea Ripley. Spoiler alert, at WrestleMania. I just don't see any other two ways about it. I don't know if you have any other comments on this match.
I do think that a lot will happen from this match. Like, this goes from here, right? Because it's all well and good bringing back this old past with Bray Wyatt and having her, get DQ'd a few weeks ago, like you mentioned. It's all well and good, but you need to add to it. You need to have an end game for this, right? So I really hope that they do have an end game for her, and I hope that the loss doesn't spiral them out of control into a storyline that it's like again with the like you mentioned, her backstage on the swing, like not wrestling in the ring. I hope that they actually have a well thought out plan for her. Because if they don't, then, why'd you build her up for this? But yeah, no more comments other than that.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward, like you said. Although I may have a differing opinion from you on who wins the Women's Rumble. But we'll see when we get there.
We're getting very close to that, and I want someone to, because I've been dead set on who I think is going to win it. I've been not exactly hiding it. So if someone can convince me otherwise, that to me will make the Women's Rumble a little bit more exciting. So we definitely will get there. But let's next talk about a very interesting match. This one, oh my God, there's so much that could happen here, and it's the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens. Once again, Tom, I'm going to toss this to you. What happens here? Who wins? Well, not even who wins, because that is not what's really up for grabs. That's not the conversation, unless you think otherwise. But I'll toss it to you on this one. The floor is yours.
Yeah, like I said before, the 2 title matches, super predictable. I think Roman Reigns wins, and he should win. He shouldn't even lose any of the belts, in my opinion. I think you keep him strong until WrestleMania, unless, like I mentioned a few weeks ago in the mailbag, you want to take a belt off him. Adam Pearce finds some reason, the Bloodline is appearing on Raw, and they're taking out all the talent, right? But I think you do keep both belts on Roman for the time being. And, I don't doubt that it's going to be a great match, because these are 2 of my current, favorite guys to watch. Talking about Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, obviously hometown boy. He's loved around here. When him and Sammy, when they came to SmackDown in August, and the show went off air, they had they had one of those dark matches, and the crowd was just going insane for both Sammy and Kevin. And Sammy was a heel back then, so you can see how over the both of them actually are when they come home. So, I'm obviously, I would love Kevin Owens to win, but Roman Reigns should not lose, and he probably will not. And as far as it goes for after the match or what happens, now we saw on Raw 30, Roman says, "You're not guilty for now. You have another test, and it will come at the Royal Rumble, and then we'll see if you're, the Bloodline or not." So, I don't know. I think personally what it is, Sammy will cost Kevin the match, and then afterwards, I think somehow Roman will tell, Sammy, "Oh, Sammy, give him a haluva kick," and, Kevin's got a chair wrapped around his head, and, he's telling him, give him the haluva kick, whatever, and Sammy says no. And I think Roman will just start the beatdown, and I think Jay and Jimmy will just stand there not knowing what to do. So I really think there's a possibility of that happening. Now, as far as The Rock goes, man, if you asked me this about a month ago, I would say it's dead set to happen. But with all the news coming out recently, I really don't think The Rock will show up. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts. I'll throw it to you.
God, where do I start? Okay, so first of all, let me just get it out of the way. Roman Reigns wins. That's not what the discussion is here. Of course, Roman Reigns wins. It would be silly. As awesome as Kevin Owens is, again, kind of like Alexa Bliss, the timing here is awful for these 2 to even be in the discussion or realm of possibility of winning. We're just too close to WrestleMania. It would not make sense at all. Again, post-WrestleMania, everything's on the table, sure, but right now it's staying with Roman Reigns. It's not even a question. So that's off. That's done. The story here is, of course, Sami Zayn and really the match itself, which I think is going to be really good. I have no doubt that both of these guys are going to kill themselves to put on an awesome match, and even maybe have a moment or two that leaves you and I, the fans like you and I, believing that Roman Reigns could lose. There may be a moment where, he hits the stunner and the referee is just nowhere to be found, and you're like, oh, right, there'll be those moments where the crowd loses it. It's a perfect setup for Kevin to win. The bloodline's down. How is Roman going to get out of this? He just got hit with the finish, and they'll find a way creatively to get out of it. I hope they have those moments. Those are the moments I look for in matches like this that are all too predictable of the outcome. So as far as the match goes, I'm looking forward to that. Now, when it comes to Sami Zayn, of course, this is the real story here. And what I think is, you're right. Sami Zayn does help Roman Reigns in some form or fashion screw Kevin Owens. And then he thinks that was the final test. And he's like, he goes maybe to hug Roman, and Roman stops him, and he, as you said, maybe tells him to give a haluva kick, and he does it. And then he continues to escalate the levels of violence that he wants to have Sammy inflict on Kevin. So it starts with maybe a haluva kick, and then it maybe goes to a chair shot to the back, and then it evolves into a haluva kick with the chair, and then Sammy eventually draws the line, and that's when Roman Reigns, as you said, the beatdown commences on Sammy, and that's how I think it's going to go down, where every time Sammy does it, he thinks that he's won over Roman, and Roman just keeps pushing Sammy, knowing that there's a breaking point, trying to find Sammy's where his loyalty truly lies. And I think it will be revealed that it does lie with Kevin Owens, and that there is a limit for Zayn, and that he doesn't really want to follow everything that Roman is telling him to do. That's what I think happens. It's the beatdown after the match. The test is going to come post-match, where the levels of violence are going to continually increase, and Zayn eventually says, "I'm not doing it," and you can just hear the crowd right now chanting "Sammy, Sammy," and you'll see the conflicted thoughts in his head. Sammy's been so good at that. So that's my overall thought. And finally, do I think The Rock's coming out? No. Do I think Stone Cold's coming out? Probably not. I don't think either of them are coming out, at least not yet.
Oh, it's my turn. Yeah. So essentially, what I think will happen here is we'll see a lot of what will happen in the near future, right? So we'll see what will happen for Elimination Chamber. We'll see what will happen for WrestleMania. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Roman's going to, try to keep pushing Sammy, do this next, do this after that. And it could just be that, in the middle of Sammy trying to do one of these things, like you said, giving him a chair shot, putting him through the announce table, and Sammy is, maybe Sammy does go all the way, but Roman still beats him down, right? You never know. So I think there's a lot of possibilities here, but yes, I do think Sammy will, help Roman retain, and there's going to be a hell of a beatdown to Sami Zayn after the match, especially if they do want to get to, the Elimination Chamber, where the rumored matchup between the two will probably go down, because I can't see it being WrestleMania between Sammy and Roman. I know the storyline probably goes well between the two of them. You could probably put that for WrestleMania, but I think WWE would want to outdo themselves, and I think they would want to have no disrespect to Sammy, but they'll probably want a bigger match at WrestleMania. So I think this is where it all starts to crumble for Sami Zayn, and I don't think Stone Cold will come out either. I think he'll come out, but I'll mention that later on in the podcast.
Yeah, this is, and there's one more factor, to at least something. This changes things a little bit for me, depending on where this is placed in the show. If this match is after the Rumble and it's the main event of the show, then perhaps my thought of someone huge coming out to stand in front of Roman Reigns changes, perhaps. Then again, I still don't think The Rock is there. They could have totally tried to swerve us and put that fake story out there purposefully to, quote, leak it to get us off the trail. And then The Rock comes out. And that's possible. I don't think it's likely. I think The Rock is truly not going to be at WrestleMania. And I have no idea if Stone Cold has accepted WWE's offer of how many, God knows how many millions of dollars to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I mean, I have no idea if that's happening or not. If it doesn't, then Sami Zayn, if Stone Cold and The Rock are out, if they don't have any legend stars to face Roman, I could see Sami Zayn absolutely having kind of a Daniel Bryan-esque run from here until WrestleMania. I mean, I could absolutely see that happening. And so any other comments on this before we get to the Royal Rumble matches?
Yeah, so if they do not have a big enough star for Roman Reigns, then I will change my opinion on they'll have Sammy there for WrestleMania. I do think that, we'll get on later to about who's going to face Roman potentially when we talk about the Rumble. But yeah, I would really love to see Sammy in the main event of WrestleMania. The storyline has been golden, and I think what's crazy about this is it started way back on a random episode of SmackDown, when Sammy was trying to get into the bloodline, and he I forget if there was another episode where he was on before, but it all started with, because they showed a clip of it on Raw 30, Sammy playing Roman's music in a match between RK Bro and the Usos to kind of scare Riddle. and then, Jay made the blind tag. They hit him with the 1D and then the 1-2-3. So I can't believe it all started with Sammy trying to, just help the Usos get the win like that. So, and for it to come full circle at WrestleMania would be crazy. But yeah, let's move on to the Rumble matches.
All right, let's do it. Very good. Let's see. Let's talk about the Women's Royal Rumble match. I'll start this one. Okay, now let me just get my pick out of the way because it's very obvious. I won't lead anyone on. Rhea Ripley, I think, wins this. She's the heavy favorite, which always scares me when there are heavy favorites, just like the Men's Royal Rumble that we will talk about second here. But when we have very, very heavy favorites, that kind of makes me nervous that I'm making the wrong choice, because sometimes WWE will pick someone else because they know what fans are thinking. They see what's out there. They know. And there's always two paths to WrestleMania. It's not only the Rumble to get somebody in a championship match. There are other ways to do it. The Rumble is not the only way. So, with that being said, I'm still going to go with Rhea Ripley. She is the heavy favorite to win here, and with good reason. She's had a career year. She has found a perfect home inside of the Judgment Day with Dom. Their chemistry is off the charts, and I don't think anyone expected that. She can wrestle her ass off. She's got a great presence, and she is, for all intents and purposes, kind of the de facto, almost the leader of the Judgment Day in a way. She's just finally found a home, and I love everything that she's done, and I think that she is the right person to win. And when you look at Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, they have not had a proper program on the main rosters, to my knowledge. Yes, I know that NXT, I'm talking about a real, honest to goodness, program, like a several month program between these two. I have seen them wrestle before, and they have great chemistry. Their styles are similar. They're both powerhouse women. So I think WrestleMania, if it's one-on-one with Rhea and Bianca, you're looking at a potential match of the night candidate. They are that good. So I think that it's a fresh matchup. That's always a good thing for fans. You already know it's a proven really good match to great match. And it's Rhea Ripley's year right now, so so I think that Rhea Ripley wins. Now, as far as the rest of the match goes, I'm not going to go piece by piece here, but I just want to say I think there'll be some kind of yesteryear returns, like maybe Molly Holly coming back again for kind of a cameo appearance, or Tori Wilson coming back for a cameo appearance. Like that kind of era. Of course, before you started watching, but I'm sure you know who these people are. But like it'll be kind of a few legacy stars, maybe Mickie James, right? Maybe even Trish Stratus, Lita. You'll have some of those women there, not just to make the match feel bigger and get people excited, but also because, let's be honest, they don't have enough women to fill the Rumble that they feel are worthy of getting into the Royal Rumble from a star power perspective. And every year I always look at it and go, there's 30 spots. And it feels like they've got about 10 women on both shows that they focus on every single week. That leaves like 15 to 20 spots that they got to fill. And every year they fill it with, I think last year was like 10 or more stars from, years gone by. And, I know they did it simply to just, I think, get to that 30 number. And I hope as the years go on, they lean less and less on the legacy stars, and they continue to just build the new stars. Hell, bring in people from NXT. I mean, I think that'll help too. But anyway, Rhea Ripley wins, and that's it for me. What about you?
So here's the thing. So I do think Rhea Ripley will face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. I definitely think that match is going to happen. We were robbed of not getting it at Money in the Bank last year. Because of, I forget what happened to Rhea. She got injured somehow, but they've built her up incredibly well. I thought the Judgment Day was dead in the water, back in June when they kicked out Edge, and, they've resurrected the group with, Balor and Priest have been elevated. Dom is just doing incredible work. Like, I can't wait for, like, that match against him and Ray. While maybe Dominic is not up to the level that Ray is in the ring, the storytelling alone is going to get me to want to watch the match. Mm-hmm. So they've done incredible work there. And Rhea, like you said, is the de facto leader, so to say, the muscle. She's stepping to all the guys, and no one wants to step up, right? So And it's crazy because I was watching one of the older Rumbles a few days ago, and the commentators, I forget who they were, they said, thankfully the men got to be thankful that Rhea's in the women's match and not the men's match. So I do think they've done a great job of building her up, and she should win. But like you said, when someone's a heavy favorite, I think WWE knows that, and I think they'll probably want to change it. So it's a toss-up for me. I have it between three women, so I have Rhea, Raquel Rodriguez, and Bayley.
Ooh.
I think Bayley is a sleeper pick for the Rumble because if you look at, obviously, there's history between her and Bianca. They probably won't go back to that. But I do think that Bayley versus Charlotte at Mania would also do well. I know she's on Raw, but I think Bayley versus Charlotte will also be somewhat fresh, and I think you can do that match since Charlotte's a babyface. So, and then obviously, like you said, there's more than one way to get to Mania. So Rhea could win, the Elimination Chamber and then go on to face Bianca and whatnot. As far as the returns go, you mentioned a lot of older women's wrestlers. I do think that a lot of the ones on the current roster that are, not there, or ones that haven't been on TV for a while, I think they'll probably come back. Like, I think we'll see Asuka. I think we'll see Naomi. I definitely think we'll see Naomi. As far as the other ones goes, I think Sasha Banks is a stretch, or Mercedes Moné. And then I think you'll see, like you said, some talent from like New Japan Pro Wrestling, because I saw a report that WWE has reached out to a bunch of those talents for, one day appearances or one show appearances. So I definitely think we'll see a lot of those. Like you said, Trish Stratus, I definitely think Trish Stratus will come out. If Bayley doesn't win, I think Trish Stratus and Bayley will get into some sort of altercation, and that'll lead to a match at WrestleMania, because if Bayley's not challenging for a championship, I do think she should face Trish Stratus. But yeah, and then you also have people like Becky Lynch, right? You have people like Shayna Baszler, so it's tough. It's really tough to pick one winner. I do think Rhea will get the most eliminations, though. I think that's for one. I think she'll definitely get the most eliminations in the match. But just to be different from you, I'm gonna go with Bayley.
I think, because again, as you mentioned, there's two paths to the Rumble. She's a heavy favorite, which scares the hell out of me. And Bayley winning is not a crazy pick. She is a big star. She's in the prime of her career. Right now, she's in a very cold program with Becky Lynch that honestly, like, no one really cares about, and it feels weird that we all don't care about it. But yeah, absolutely. Bayley winning it's a realm of possibility choice, right? You're not choosing Emma, right? Like you're not choosing someone that is just completely impossible. That's a solid pick, given that, most people wouldn't expect it, because Bayley's kind of cold right now. And, with the whole Becky Lynch story that no one cares about, people aren't even thinking Bayley. So that's definitely possible. If she did win, certainly Charlotte Flair would be her opponent, not Bianca Belair. They would not go back to that. So I'm with you. And I'm with you on the Naomi return. I think it's very plausible that she returns, as well as Ronda Rousey. I think Ronda Rousey, even though she has only been gone for a few weeks, she'll make her return. And I think what'll happen is her and Becky will have a few moments in the ring, a few minutes in the ring, a stare down in the ring to tease a WrestleMania match that they never had. That one-on-one has still not happened. It's impossible that it hasn't happened, but that's my guess is that Becky and Ronda have a moment. They're not going to jump into their program right away because Bayley and Becky still have to finish things up. But my guess is that Becky and Ronda, one eliminates the other, and maybe Becky eliminates Ronda, and then Ronda eliminates Becky, and then they go brawl or whatever, and that will lead to their program at WrestleMania. That has to happen, for God's sakes. And so that's my other pick, too, is that Ronda and Becky have their moment to lead to Mania. Do I think Sasha Banks, i.e. Mercedes? No, I don't. I think that she's done. Now, if she does, I would stand up and applaud. I'd be like, hey, guys, good job swerving us all. She did appear in New Japan, but WWE has not been shy about bringing in New Japan wrestlers before, and even though they're still under contract, WWE doesn't really view New Japan as competition, so to speak, so they're not really worried about giving competition free advertising, as they say. But yeah, I don't think Sasha Banks is coming back at the Rumble. I think Sasha Banks, at least for the near future, is done with WWE. Sorry, Sasha Banks fans. That's kind of the way I see it. But yeah, so I'm with you on that. And at least if Bayley does win, Rhea Ripley will certainly be like the final 3 or the final 4 in that match. I think the final 4 are probably Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Becky, and Ronda. I mean, you could have all 4 of those women as the final.
Yeah, and you could also add one of the hotter returns in there, right? It doesn't have to be Ronda. You can also add Naomi, because I'm sure the crowd will be with Naomi. I do think it's a little bit different, because the women announced are only 7, and there's 30 spots to fill.
Yeah.
So they'll obviously have some talent. They'll obviously have some talent there from the SmackDown and Raw locker room. But I do think you'll see a lot of NXT women superstars. So I don't watch NXT every single week, but I know some of the names like Toxic Attraction. You have Gigi Dolan, JC Jane. You have Roxanne Perez, Cora Jade, Tiffany Stratton. You'll see a lot of people like that, most likely. And then you'll have like the older returns. But yeah, it's really weird how they only have 7 announced. So, they're probably leaning heavy on big returns for this match. But like I said, I'm between Bayley and Rhea. I'm just going to go with Bayley to be different. But I think Rhea she's a heavy favorite for a reason. And then as far as Becky and Ronda goes, I heard somewhere that Ronda is not going to be at the Royal Rumble. So I'm not sure if that showdown with Becky will happen. But I do want that match to happen so that Becky does something at WrestleMania, because I do think she should be at WrestleMania. Like that's not even a question. But I don't want her in the title picture, since she's a babyface. She's over, right? And you have Bianca and Charlotte as 2 baby faces. So maybe she'll get inserted as a triple threat. We never know. But yeah, so I'm really excited for this match. I think there's going to be a lot of returns. Going to be a lot of we're going to see a lot of potential WrestleMania matches lined up, or Elimination Chamber matches lined up.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, definitely. I mean, because we can't forget about Elimination Chamber. I know that Elimination Chamber is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the pay-per-view schedule in WrestleMania season, because everyone wants to jump from Royal Rumble to Mania, but there is that in between stop. So Chamber, I think it's going to be a great pay-per-view. It always seems to overperform, and especially with the Chamber matches themselves, it makes things that much better. But all right, let's get to the men's Royal Rumble. This is crazy, right? Like, there's so many ways to take this. I mean, I could bring out the picks right now. I could talk about the possible returns, which, by the way, there are so many different returns in this match. So many, right? Like, these are all within the realm of possibility. Let me just rattle these little gems off here. Okay, we have Brock Lesnar, which is more than likely, given especially he already returned. So Brock Lesnar is probably a lock for the Royal Rumble. We have Riddle. What about Riddle, right? Like, he's still floating out there. Randy Orton floating out there. John Cena. It's WrestleMania season. We know he's going to have a match. We have Big E, who we haven't seen since Ridge Holland broke his neck, but I think he's progressed to the point of returning, so I think Big E will make his return at the Rumble. We have, crazily, in 2023, we're still talking about Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I don't think either will be in the Rumble. I actually don't want them in the Rumble, because they don't. To me, it would be cannibalizing new stars' opportunities. Those guys, if they want to have a match with Roman Reigns or somebody else, don't need the Royal Rumble to do it. It's 2023. I'm massive fans of both, but I don't want Rock or Austin in this match. at all. I don't think it's needed, and I don't think they will. So I'm not saying they will. I'm saying it's in the universe of possibility that they are. And as well as not in the match, but maybe after the match or some point during the pay-per-view, Vince McMahon. I mean, like, he could just randomly decide to come out and do something. Who knows? But I know I threw a lot at you there. I didn't give you my pick yet because we're going to break this down. But what do you think as far as the returns go in the Rumble out of Riddle, Randy, Big E, Rock, Austin, Brock? What do you think about all these?
So there's a lot. There's like, you mentioned, and there's already a lot that you haven't mentioned, right? So there's Edge, there's, there's Edge. Who else? Well, there's a lot of people we haven't seen in a long time. I do think Stone Cold will be in there, but I don't think he'll win it. I just think he'll have a potential interaction to set up a Mania match or something. There's a lot of, there's Logan Paul. There's a lot of them.
Oh God.
There's a lot of them. There's so many to choose from. I do agree with you that Big E will probably show up. I do think they've been very cold on the Randy Orton talk. So I do think that we'll probably see Orton in there in the Rumble. There's a lot of there's 14 guys who they named for the Rumble. So, there's still 16 spots to fill. And I think you'll probably see some one-time contracted talents in the Rumble. So there's a lot of talk of Matt Cardona, and I saw that he trademarked Zack Ryder. He trademarked Zack Ryder the other day. Those are the reports. So he might see Zack Ryder again. There's, like I mentioned before, possibly Goldberg. There's a lot of potential returns, and it's exciting because it kind of creates the intrigue, even though we know who the heavy favorite is, and we'll get to the picks shortly, but it just creates a lot of intrigue because then there's the possibility, Sami Zayn, right? There's so many possibilities about the Royal Rumble, but I do think that three returns that are probably likely. Brock Lesnar, that's not even a question because I think you'll see a Brock and Bobby Part 3 at Mania. But I think Edge for sure will come back and get into an altercation with Balor. And then I do think Big E will come back as well. Orton, I'm still about 50-50 on.
Okay, yeah, no, see, there's already 4 or 5 other guys I didn't even remember that. That's how many possible returns we have here, and a lot of them, yes, are legacy stars, but a lot of them are still capable of having very good matches, which is crazy. And as you mentioned Edge, I'm thinking for the Women's Rumble, Beth Phoenix. Remember how they went out with Beth Phoenix getting concertoed by Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley and I think Beth Phoenix are probably going to have a match at Elimination Chamber. I think they're going to have they have to. I don't know if they'll go all the way to WrestleMania. That wouldn't make sense because I think Rhea should be in a championship match. But Beth Phoenix still owes her one, or owes her more than that. So with that said, we got Edge and all the others as you mentioned. This also has Kofi Kingston, and I know that Kofi Kingston has been looked at as like a novelty act in the Rumble, and with good reason. I mean, because when you see Kofi Kingston in the Rumble, all you're thinking is, no, oh wow, he could win it. What a great wrestler. You're thinking, what crazy things are going to do to not get eliminated? I mean, he's become a one-trick pony in the Rumble, and that's how we view Kofi Kingston. And for better or worse, that's how he's been defined in the Rumble. So who knows what kind of wacky thing he'll do this year to not get eliminated. They'll find something. But for now, I'll give my pick in 1 second, but I do want to say about this Rumble, this is the most unpredictable, crazy Rumble that I have been a part of as a fan in I don't know how many years that I've been watching wrestling, but I am also most excited not just for the winner, but kind of those stories within stories that happen in this match that lead to WrestleMania matches, or sometimes don't. It's just a cool moment that eventually will get to this program. Like, what about Brock Lesnar coming face-to-face with Omos? Or, some kind of legacy star coming face-to-face with somebody else that, we're not going to have the match now, but we're teasing this for down the line. That kind of stuff is so much fun to me, with guys that have never faced each other, that you start a story within a story, and even if it's just a minute or two that they have a face-off or whatever, that is the stuff that's that really adds emotion to this match and all the roller coaster of a ride that this thing is. So I think that this is going to be a very good Royal Rumble, and my pick's weird, and here's why it's weird. Because to me, who wins for my pick depends on when the Rumble is placed, where it is placed in the show. What do I mean by that? If the Royal Rumble is placed at the very end of the show, I think that Sami Zayn wins it. And the reason I say that is because what's going to happen is if Sami Zayn accidentally costs Roman Reigns the match and Roman Reigns loses it and beats down Sami or whatever, I think Sami could then be limping in to the Royal Rumble match at like number 29 or number 30 and end up winning the match. Then he goes on to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, and he sticks it to Roman Reigns. If this match is before the championship match, then I don't think Sami Zayn's in the Rumble at all. I think that he is still just a part of the storyline for the championship match, and that's it. No Rumble. At that point, I think Cody Rhodes wins. I know this is, again, guys, not interesting. Cody Rhodes has been a favorite for like 7 months. Okay? Cody Rhodes has been a favorite forever. And I hope Cody Rhodes doesn't win, only because it's been so predictable for so long. But I understand why he should. I understand the story. People like him. He is a very good talent. There's a story there with Roman and his dad and the championship his dad ever won and his injury comeback and all the feels for Cody. I understand it. I'm not on board for Cody. We all know that. That's just my personal opinion. I'm in the minority, and that's fine. But to me, I hate to give a kind of a split answer, but I think that the placement of this match matters when you're talking about the Sami Zayn story. So, again, Sami Zayn if the Rumble's last, Cody Rhodes if the Rumble is last.
Yeah, and you were touching on before about the small interactions within the Rumble. Another guy that we haven't mentioned, Gunther, right? Gunther. So. Yeah. He imagine him coming face to face with like Brock Lesnar, yes. I mentioned Stone Cold, right? Imagine he comes face to face with these guys in the Rumble match. By the way, I think Gunther gets to the final four, and I think that he gets the most eliminations. I think WWE's really high on him, and you saw on Raw 30 he was in a segment with not only Kurt Angle but DX. So I think, they're really, really high on him. They put him over massive in that segment. And another guy that I'm really interested in seeing in the Rumble is Theory. I know he probably won't win, but I think seeing him in his altercation, and you mentioned John Cena before. Imagine if John Cena enters the Rumble and gets face-to-face with Theory. We already saw that, in 2K23 they're interacting in the 2K23 trailer, right? So you never know what could happen there if they're planning for something at Mania, and there's lots of rumors floating around. But yeah, all those matches in the middle, just like all those confrontations, like you said, Omos and Brock Lesnar, Omos and Braun Strowman again, because we know Braun Strowman will be in there. The New Day and Imperium, right? Like, let's say the Imperium is in there. Or let's say you got Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley up against Imperium, right? Like, there's just so many possibilities. But yeah, like I said, I think, okay, so as far as my winner goes, I agree with you. If it's at the latter end of the show, I don't think it'll be Cody Rhodes. I just don't. But I do think that we'll probably see Cody Rhodes win. It just makes too much sense. They're building him up so hard with these vignettes, and when he came back, and he came back to WWE television back like early last year, I didn't recognize him almost, because my Cody Rhodes was Dashing Cody Rhodes or Paper Bag Cody Rhodes back in the day. So I didn't watch much AEW, so. I didn't have a tremendous recollection of him, but, watching his matches and seeing him, especially at Hell in a Cell is where he won me over. Like, just imagine having that injury and having to work a match like that. Like, imagine the position you put Seth Rollins in, right? For to have a match like that. So just, those guys, the two of those guys, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Rumble if they address that. But going back to it, yes, I do think Cody wins no matter what. It'd be interesting to see because Sami Zayn is definitely a close second for me. I want to see, my heart wants Seth Rollins to win because Rollins and Reigns at WrestleMania just like books itself. But I do think Cody wins, and it'd be interesting to see if they really go Cody Roman because, there's somewhat of a story there, but if Sami Zayn enters the Rumble and Cody wins, I think you risk Cody getting booed like Roman in 2015 or Batista in 2014. I really do think that. So it'd be interesting. I don't think they'll throw Sami in the Rumble. I think they'll probably have the Rumble to start the show or, at some point midway through or as a main event. There's just so many possibilities, but I do think Cody wins it. No matter what. So that's my final answer.
It's not a bad one. That's probably that's the likely one. Again, just because it's predictable, I say this all the time, but some fans just outright hate predictability no matter what. It's the right thing, the wrong thing. If it's predictable, it just sucks automatically. And it's like, no, even if sometimes you can see a result coming a mile away, it doesn't mean that it's the wrong decision. It's just that you don't like predictability. Now, if everything's always predictable, that's another story. But if it's the right thing to do, I'm all for it. So if Cody Rhodes winning is the right booking decision, then fine. Even if it's super predictable and people see it coming 4 miles away, it's fine. But to your other points quickly, I do see a New Day reuniting in this match, as you said. Big E as the big return for that group. Maybe they're getting beat down. Maybe Xavier Woods and Kofi are getting beat down by Imperium in the Rumble match. And that's when Big E's music hits and the odds get evened, and it's a New Day reuniting feel good moment, and Imperium and New Day battle it out in the Rumble. Like those kinds of mini stories within the story are really cool. You also mentioned Seth Rollins, and I'm glad you did because I hate to say I forgot about him, but like as much as of a fan of him as I am, and how the story would just completely be just a perfect fit for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. The problem is that Roman Reigns has a lot of other, quote, bigger stars and better story right now with Sami Zayn. I know Seth and Roman have a ton of history that you could pull on at any time, and really stuff that they haven't tied up with Roman and Seth. And they'll get back there. But right now, the hot hand is Sami Zayn. And you can't drop Sami Zayn for Roman Reigns or for Seth Rollins. As great as Seth Rollins is, but that's how hot Sami Zayn is. So that tells you that's a good problem to have. But I also feel for Seth, who, if had it not been for Sami Zayn, there's a good chance that Seth Rollins could win the Rumble and go on to face Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and be a very, very, I guess, believable candidate to take out Roman Reigns for the championship. So, yeah, I'm with you on that. I guess projecting to WrestleMania, do you think, no matter who faces Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, do you think he'll drop the belt, or do you think he's going to go past Mania with the belts?
Oh, he definitely goes past Mania with the belts. I mean, how could you not? This is probably, like you've mentioned numerous times on this podcast, like, you're never going to get another chance to go past 1,000 days, like, ever, probably. So why not just milk this as far as you can go? I know Roman's on that part-time schedule now. Ever since literally I've started watching, he's been on that part-time schedule. But, you have the Sami Zayn storyline that's made it a little bit more palatable. And there's going to be I'm sure they'll find other ways to make the bloodline story interesting if they are going to string this Roman title reign along. So the only issue I have with Cody winning the Rumble is, like, I don't think he wins. I don't know about you. I don't think Cody wins if he wins the Rumble, unless they split the belts. But if they don't split the belts, I think Cody's going to lose to Roman, and you'll probably see Roman drop the belt. I don't know. I agree with your take that probably it's going to be SummerSlam. But I do think they could probably string this out till WrestleMania 40. Wow. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens, right? I do think Roman will, without a doubt, will win at Mania. It's just, it's inevitable that they'll reach 1,000 days and probably go beyond that, because I was doing some digging and I saw the top title reigns,
Me too.
and it's Bruno Sammartino, and I forget who else has is it Pedro Morales that
Pedro
has 14
Morales is just above him, yeah.
14, yeah, it's 1427, right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine Roman's reign gets stringed on that long, right?
That would put you at next year's.
That would just be crazy.
That would put you at past next year's WrestleMania, I think. Doing the math, that would put you into like just after WrestleMania 40. Oh my God.
Yeah, and I think that's probably likely. Well, for the Universal, right? Like that's probably very likely. And I think Roman wins at Mania, which could potentially mean that Sami Zayn might win the Rumble. So I do think Cody will. There's so many. Now I'm contradicting myself. I'm gonna just stick with Cody, but there's so many possible matchups because I think whoever wins is probably going to lose to Roman, and I think since there's going to be a draft right after WrestleMania, I do think we'll probably see another top belt added to Raw, most likely. So I do really think Cody's gonna win, but I think that Roman holds the belts till, like we said, after WrestleMania 40. So it's really fascinating to see what they do, because we're not Triple H, right? We're not booking this run. We're not booking who's winning the Rumble, so we have no idea what's happening. It's very good though. It's very, very good because, like you mentioned previously, predictability all the time is a problem. And even now, like I'm watching whenever there's certain matches on television, and you see, you could just tell if someone's facing Alpha Academy, that team's gonna win. So it's really, really good that they have this sort of unpredictability surrounding the Rumble. But I really think that Cody wins, but there's a high possibility that, like you said before, if the Rumble is the main event, then I can definitely see Sami potentially getting a win.
That's a good point to bring up about the splitting of the belts. And if the split of the belts happens prior to WrestleMania and the WWE Championship is being defended separately and Roman is not the one defending it, he's only defending the Universal, then I think you're right. I think Cody Rhodes, whether it's Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, I've heard that, and that's a plausible rumor. I mean, number one, you got to remember how Cody Rhodes went out. He was quote unquote beaten down by Seth with a sledgehammer after he already tore his quad or his pec. But then you could wrap up that program as well as now finally have a top belt on Raw, which is the main objective. And if that happens, then I think Cody Rhodes is a very high favorite to win. But as you said, whoever the hell's facing Roman at Mania is an automatic loss, nearly an automatic loss, given they're so close to 1,000 days. They know, as you've mentioned, I've mentioned, like in our lifetimes, we probably will never see a 1,000-day reign again. I mean, it's almost a certainty, given how often these types of reigns go over the last 50 years of wrestling. Like, it doesn't happen often. So this could be the only time in our lifetimes that we see this type of reign, and WWE knows that. And so they're going to milk it, rightfully so. And so as we just speculated, I don't want to already talk about WrestleMania 40. Some people I can hear jumping off the cliff and screaming. But it's a very plausible prediction, because it'll get you past Pedro Morales into the top 5 of title reigns in all of wrestling's history. So, like, he is in now rarefied air if he gets to that point. But again, we're at 870 some days. We got a long way to go. And if you do the math, that would mean he's just a little bit past his halfway mark of being champion. So I'm not trying to depress anybody, but that's just kind of the math of it, if that happens.
Yeah, and you know what? I really do think that Roman does deserve a run like this, because remember very early on when they were pushing him as the top guy, that's when I was watching. The fans rejected it, right? Because it's just someone. First of all, Roman as a babyface was never believable. So, I mean, it was just natural that the fans reacted like that. But I do think since he had to deal with that for how long was it? It was like 2015 to like 2019, like 4 years, right?
At least, yeah.
He had to deal with getting constantly booed. There was that clip after the night after WrestleMania. Was it? It's the one you went to live when he faced the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Remember when he came out for Raw and he just got booed out of the building?
I don't
like.
Yeah.
He's had to.
Go ahead.
He's had to go through all of this. And then on top of it, he's had the cancer, like in and out of treatment for cancer, right? So I definitely think this is going to be his thing. They're going to give him this reign. John Cena has the 16 time?
Yeah, 16.
I think it's the 16-time world champ. Yeah, so he has that. Randy Orton had youngest world champ. So I think Roman is going to get his thing. And Seth has the best cash in of all time, right? So this is going to be Roman's thing, and I think he deserves it, and he's doing phenomenal work. He's the reason why I tune in every week to SmackDown, and I'm not lying. Like if he's not there, I'm paying attention to whatever the Bloodline's doing. If he is there, then I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I'm watching SmackDown, because he is the main attraction in WWE. Like, he's their guy. So why take the title off him if you don't have a guy that's at least booked on his level, right? It just doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, I do think he'll hold the title for quite a while. I definitely think it's possible after SummerSlam that he does lose at least one belt and potentially the Universal, but I think for the foreseeable future we'll see Roman as the undisputed hardcore European champion.
Yeah, and we can hopefully, if they split the belts, we can just say Universal. I mean, there's it'd be so much easier.
Yeah.
This combining of multiple words for a championship, and I sound like Ronda Rousey, who was complaining that she has to say SmackDown Women's Championship, but this one I just want to be able to say Universal and WWE. Like, it's so much easier for the men's belts for me to distinguish in my mind. But yeah, Roman Reigns is on an absolute historical run, and there's no doubt about it that he could end today and be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's already there, but he's in the territory now that very few guys in their careers get to. There's not many of them in terms of length of run. And sure, it's been inflated artificially by him taking, two pay-per-views off in like a 4-month span, and being on every third SmackDown, every 3 months of Raw. Like, he's certainly taken a lot of time off, but it's been well-deserved time, to be fair. He did put in his time, he busted his ass, and now he's in the position that a lot of fans who were screaming and kicking and yelling that WWE should turn Roman heel when he was the awful babyface big dog character, that he is even better than I think myself and those fans that were with me were booing him could be. Like we were in a war of attrition with Vince McMahon for 4 or 5 years, where Vince would continually push him as this big dog babyface, and Michael Cole would, have an orgasm every single time that he came out saying it's the big dog, and he'd freak out, right? And it would be the most just insufferable thing ever. But it was this war of attrition that I think fans now feel validated against Vince McMahon's stubbornness to turn Roman heel. And now look what we have. Something even better than anyone could have imagined. And, the argument is, well, if you turned him heel when you wanted to, you wouldn't have had this bloodline. Well, who knows, right? Like, maybe it still would have been a very successful run. But the fact is, turning Roman heel has made the company a much larger sum of money than keeping him as the big dog babyface that was just an awful character. And now they have one of the best heels ever on their hands in Roman Reigns as this tribal chief. And so, anyway, just to say we were victorious against Vince McMahon is a nice win when you get it. But so anyway, let's kind of circle back here. I'll put a bow on this and just say I think the Royal Rumble pay-per-view has a ton of potential. I think we are going to see many returns from the men's and women's side. I think the women's Royal Rumble match probably opens the show. They don't want to put, and they do this anytime there's a men's and women's equivalent of chamber matches or Hell in a Cell matches or Money in the Bank ladder matches. They put them as far apart as possible on the show. because you don't want to put the same match type back to back. Makes total sense. So I think the women's Royal Rumble match probably opens the show. If not, it'll be the second at the very latest, and then the men's will. I think the men's Royal Rumble match will still close the show. I still think that they look at the Royal Rumble match as the match. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and we'll be able to finally have solid answers, something to stand on and talk about other than just all of this kind of just fantasy land discussion. We'll have some real things to discuss in just a couple days.
Yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to finally getting some answers, because it feels like ever since Survivor Series, it's been that multiple questions, Okay, is The Rock coming back? Is Stone Cold coming back? Is Brock Lesnar coming back, right? We don't know all of this, right? So it's finally good that we're 2 days away from getting some answers. I do think that they'll do something similar to last year, where they had Roman face Seth in the opening match of the Rumble, because they did have, I think the reason they did that was because Bobby Lashley took on Brock, and Roman ended up interfering, blah blah blah. But I think they'll have that because that's a really intriguing match that the fans will definitely be watching that match throughout. You'll have the near falls, and you'll see what happens with Sammy. So I think that'll open it up, and then I think they'll have the women's match. And like you said, I agree. I think you should have the men's Royal Rumble as the main event. I think that is the main show. And it's where you'll have a good portion of your main eventers in that Rumble match. You'll have Brock, you'll have Cody, you'll have Seth, right? So it just makes so much sense. So yeah, I'm, like I said, opening this, I think that I can't wait. It's been so long since a premium live event. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too, and I still call it pay-per-view just because I can't get myself to say premium live event. It sounds like too many words, too many syllables to me. So I like PPV. And
I'm in between. I'm in between. Sometimes I say pay-per-view, sometimes I say premium live event, sometimes I just say live event because I'm too lazy. So.
Well, no, I understand, and I'm trying to catch myself up, but at the same time, pay-per-view, you can still buy this show on pay-per-view. Like, even though that's not the method that most people use, it's still a pay-per-view by definition. It's just not how people watch it anymore. However, okay, before we head out here, Thomas, is there anything that you wanted to close the show with, and any plugs, social media, or final thoughts on the Rumble?
I don't think I have anything to add. Well, I just joined as a patron, so if you guys were wondering, I did join as a patron just today. If you guys want, you can follow me on Twitter. It's @tfranks. So, it's the first letter of my first name and then my last name just with no O and then 2 S's. So you can follow me on Twitter there. I'm active in a lot of, wrestling spaces, and then, my Instagram is mostly just a fitness page where I post my lifting. So, but yeah, I think that's all I have to add.
Cool. Very good. Well, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show. I'm glad you were able to come on, and it gets me even more pumped for the Rumble. And in 48 hours, we will have a lot of answers. Still a lot of questions, but at least some answers. And I'm looking forward to it. And again, thanks so much for coming on, Tom. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, I know for sure. Thanks, Matt. I can't wait to see the Rumble, and we'll also talk after Elimination Chamber as well, because I'll be there in attendance.
Absolutely. I will have to definitely want to get your in-person perspective on that. So I'm jealous, and thanks so much. I'll be in touch with you soon.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.